Second, when we speak about the ceasefire, it's important to mention that the ceasefire that took place, it's not a final ceasefire. Israel, from their side, is having their stories, and there is no controlling about their stories. They are talking what they want, and nothing is following on ground to give the right vision or the right story from ground. Maybe we can ask Trump, do we accept to transfer him from Washington D.C. to Somalia in Africa?
Yeah.
If he accepts for himself, we will accept for ourselves.
And we are not accepting to interfere from any other government or any other state in the Palestinian cause, unless we were like asking for a support from our official side, our official, let's say, government, and our president Mahmoud Abbas.
Hi, this is Sukanya, Saha, and you're watching Hindustan Times. So, the 15-month war, which began on October 7, 2023, after Hamas launched a devastating attack on Israel, has finally reached a fragile pause, allowing Gaza to begin returning to normal. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians flooded back into northern Gaza on Monday after Israel opened military checkpoints that had divided the strip for more than a year, ending a forced exile from homes and loved ones that many feared could become permanent. Joining us today are Bethlehem's Mayor, Mr. Anton Salman, and Deputy Mayor, Mr. Hanna, to discuss the critical challenges faced by residents returning home, the immediate humanitarian concerns, the future of the Palestinian cause under the Trump administration, the fragility of the recently inked ceasefire deal, and most importantly, the looming question of whether this devastating war could reignite. Hi, Mr. Salman, and hi, Mr. Hanania. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, given the fragile nature of the ceasefire, do you believe it could lead to a long-term peace, or is it just a temporary pause in hostilities? And if yes, it could reignite the war. What factors, in your opinion, could cause the conflict to resume?
Thank you for this interview. And let's say we want to begin from a point you mentioned, it's a war. And in our understanding about what's happening in Gaza during the last 15 months, it was attacks from the Israeli army towards the Palestinian people, civilian Palestinian people in Gaza. So it wasn't a war between two armies or something like that. It was attacks from the Israeli side towards the Palestinians. Second, when we speak about the ceasefire, it's important to mention that the ceasefire that took place, it's not a final ceasefire, ending the Palestinian suffering and challenges. Because till the moment, all the, let's say, initiative took place or the negotiation took place during the last period was just security talks and security procedures. They didn't enter in any details or discussions concerning the Palestinian cause as in general, and to end the suffering of the Palestinian people and to achieve peace in the region, as we as a Palestinian looking for. In Palestine, we're looking for ending the Palestinian-Israeli problem in appropriate way that give our people our rights in our land, our independence, our freedom, and our East Jerusalem as our capital as Palestinians. So till the moment, all the discussion took place was security discussions. No meaning for us for that, because it doesn't give us the opportunity to think about the final solution that we are looking to achieve in the region. So now it's a temporary period, ceasefire for a temporary period, and we don't see that it can end the Palestinian suffering as a result of a political initiative that can bring the conflict to an end.
So, there have been reports that Hamas backtracked several times during the ceasefire negotiations. What are the main reasons you think for the delays, and why did it take so long for the deal to come together?
Look, we must have to understand two things. First, the Palestinian people have a leadership, which is the PLO. Any final discussions or negotiation must take place with our Palestinian leadership by our President Abbas and the Palestinian leadership in general, represented by the PLO. So any negotiation for final solution need to be through this channel, which all the world recognize that the PLO is the Palestinian representative all around the world. Till the moment, we spoke, as I said, about two parties discussing security matters. They are not discussing politics. So what you are seeing in Gaza, it's possible because nothing is controlling the situation. Israel, from its their side, is having their stories, and there is no controlling about their stories. They are talking what they want, and nothing is following on ground to give the right vision or the right story from ground. So the Israeli story, it's not for us, it's not truth. And from our side, we have people who are living under a very difficult circumstances. Our people is breathing there. They need a lot of needs, not just humanitarian needs. Also, they need security needs to protect themselves, to protect their families from the Israeli attacks. So what we are looking for, that the world will change their way in dealing with this case and this problem, and to go for looking for a final solution that can bring comprehensive peace in the region and that can stop the Palestinian sufferings once and forever.
So you just mentioned security needs. So how has the war and the subsequent ceasefire affected Gaza and, most importantly, West Bank, where Bethlehem is located, both in terms of security and its socioeconomic landscape? Because we know that the violence is still ongoing in West Bank, especially in Jenin. So do you think this escalating conflict undermines prospects for a long-term peace and reconciliation between Israel and Palestine?
Look, the Israeli violations in all around the Palestinian occupied territory.
Yeah.
But in different shapes. In Gaza, it's full military attacks from the Israeli side. In the West Bank, they have different military operations in different cities in the West Bank. But the important is Israel is putting all the Palestinian territories under a siege. So when we speak about our life in the Palestinian territories, we are passing through a very difficult and complicated situation as a result of the Israeli occupation policy in the occupied territories. So when we speak about the obstacles of life, maybe in different meaning between Gaza and the West Bank have the obstacles, but in Gaza and in the West Bank, we have the Israeli policy that just bring for us suffering and problems in our daily lives.
Right. So you just mentioned peacemakers. How effective do you find the roles of Qatar, Egypt, and most importantly, the US as mediators in the Gaza ceasefire deal? Especially the agreement was signed during the final week of Biden's term, yet both Trump and Biden have claimed credit for the truce. In your opinion, whom should Palestine truly credit for achieving the ceasefire?
Look, first we appreciate all the efforts was invested from all parties in the Arab world and other countries who were interested to put an end for our people suffering in Gaza. And we appreciate that very much, and we thank them very much for their efforts. In the other way, I mentioned and I said, we want some efforts and a big pressure from the international community to end this problem, to end the sufferings of the Palestinians. Because it's not a way to speak about temporary measurements here and there without ending the problem itself. So the important now, what we want to see an international initiative that can bring Palestinians and Israelis on a round-table discussion to end the way of Israeli behaviors in the occupied territories, to end the occupation, and to give us our self-determination as Palestinians. So at the end of the negotiation will bring us to our freedom and independent state with each Jerusalem our capital. So without that, the suffering will continue, challenges will continue, the obstacles in our life will continue, and nothing will change, no matter what the temporary period will bring, and no matter what it will be, let's say, secure.
So you just mentioned, Mr. Salman, about the Palestinian cause. How do you view Hamas's October 7 attack on Israel, which resulted in the deaths of 1,200 people and the abduction of over 250 hostages? Do you believe these actions benefited the Palestinian cause, or is it accurate to call these actions resistance?
First, I want to say that before to speak about the reason, we need to discuss about the results. We need to discuss about the reason. If you want to speak about the 7th of October, you need to look for the reasons that brought 7th of October. So what brought the 7th of October is the continuous attacks of the Israelis, the continuous of the occupation, the continuous siege around Gaza. So there was reasons that brought the 7th of October. If the peace was take place since the Oslo agreement took place, I don't think that the suffering of the region can continue till today. I think that was ended since the ending of the temporary period that the Palestinians and Israel agreed about on Oslo. It was the April 1999 was the end of the temporary period. So if the situation was ended in 1999 as it was scheduled between Palestine and Israel, I think that the suffering was end, and nothing today we are speaking or discussing upon it, because peace means that everybody will live in peace as a people, as a region, and so the type of life will change, the mentality will change, the behaviors will change, because when you live in peace in your daily life, you live it inside yourself and with your neighbors. As much as you live in peace, as much you accept others in your life, as much as you ignoring others in your life, as much as the suffering and injustice situation will continue. In our case, as a Palestinian, we accept Israel in our life since Oslo agreement took place. And since that time, Israel ignored our rights, ignored ourselves as a people. Until now, they are still ignoring ourselves. So how can they live by themselves in peace while they are ignoring others and living in the sufferings of others? So the important is that this conflict must end. This problem must end. Palestinian people must have their rights. We are a people who have our roots in this land, and Israel never ever will succeed to take us outside from our land. Never will succeed, because our roots is here in the history of this land goes down. So it's important that Israel must recognize us as people, recognize our leadership, recognize our state, and that peace will take place, and everybody will live in peace as equal situation as two neighbors living behind near each other or beside each other.
Right. So you mentioned siege around Gaza, but Hamas has reportedly used tunnels to hide weapons and fighters, under civilian areas like kids, schools, hospitals, etc., putting Gaza's population at risk. How do you respond to the accusation that this strategy deliberately endangers innocent lives, violating international law?
The international law, who is responsible to implement the international law on ground? The victim or the, let's say, the other side? We are victims. We are the victims of the world. We are the victims of the history. We are 100 years of suffering living under it. We passed through different periods, and in each period have its circumstances. And in all periods of our history, always the suffering was on behalf and upon the Palestinian people. Always. If you want, I can tell you from the beginning to today how much our people paid, how much the people ran away from the wars, from the attacks that was against them. It's a long history of suffering our people is passed through. But
Mr.
who is
Salman,
responsible to implement the international law? The weak or the strong? The victim or the attacker? The powerful
but see,
or
the argument here is
who's
basically
responsible to achieve
yeah.
international law? Let's say when we speak about the humanitarian international law, about who's responsible to achieve that and to implement that on ground?
But
The
Mr.
people
Salman,
living
the
under the
argument here is
occupation
about
or the
Hamas
occupier.
building tunnels underneath the area, which put a lot of kids at danger, children, normal civilians, because these were built underneath schools, hospitals, etc., to hide fighters, weapons.
Look, if the peace process took place in a real way, and the conflict ended in 1999 or 2000, do you think that there was need for tunnels and other things? Somebody from the international community needs to answer this question. Why we reach this point? Who is responsible? Who brought us to this point? Our president, Chairman Arafat, he paid his life for peace. Our President Abbas, since 2005 till today, he is still running to achieve peace in the region. His policy is built on peace. And when he always have his speech in the General Assembly of the United Nations, always he spoke about peace, to improve peace in the region, to bring justice to everybody, to accept each other, to live in respectful way as enablers, two-state solution. Always our leadership have this important meaning, important humanity meanings, that asking the world to interfere to end the Israeli policy, the Israeli violation against the Palestinian people. Who is responsible? Is the Palestinian people who are living under the occupation responsible, or the occupiers who still continue with his procedures in confiscating land, in building settlements, in putting people under siege, in putting people in injustice situations? Who is responsible? The responsible, the international community, who must bring peace in the region, built in a humanity principles that the human rights charter brought to everybody. When you speak about the humanity, we can't say that in Palestine no humanity and in other places yes humanity. When we speak about the human rights, we speak about the human rights for everybody, no matter where the person whom is the person who is trying to achieve this human rights in his life.
So, with the northern Gaza opening for returnees, you mentioned international community playing its role. How should, India and important countries like the US, etc., and the Palestinian Authority approach rebuilding shattered lives and infrastructure? Also, what specific contributions can India make to support rebuilding efforts, and how might this involvement influence India's diplomatic relations in the Middle East, you think?
Look, we need to ask the international community and India to adopt a clear policy built in humanity, let's say, principle, or a human rights principle. We need the world to work for achieving peace. While the peace will take place, first they will give us the opportunity for us to begin building ourselves. As always we said, we want to ask the world to teach us to fish and not to give us the fish. Because while we understand how to fish, we can build ourselves. We appreciate the help and the aid that the international community and the different countries is supporting us. But if it is fair to say that just I want to give you the food but I don't want to give you the opportunity to live in peace. Maybe I want to say sometimes in Gaza, our people receive aid from here and there, but they have the opportunity to eat these foods that they received from the donors who were offering them the food. So it's important, the food or the security or the stability or the peace. Important is how we can live in peace in this region, how we can improve our life, our identity, how we can reach our right in appropriate way that can give us the equality with others. How can we have this opportunity? What we are asking the world, we are not saying that we need something extraordinary. We don't want occupation upon us. We don't want suffering. We want to end this conflict. And in Gaza, what the people went out to the north yesterday, but what they found, nothing they found.
Yeah,
Their
exactly.
homes destroyed, their infrastructure destroyed. They have no pure water to drink. They have no any services that can help them in having their needs. So what they have up in the North Gaza or South Gaza? But yesterday the people were ready to go back to their homes. But what they found? They didn't find anything.
So you
Just
mentioned
they are
all
going
these
to have
people
another period
returning.
of suffering.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about what are the primary challenges these residents will face now regarding health, sanitation, and most importantly,
Everything.
unexploded munitions?
Hospitalization,
Yeah.
they have lack of hospitals. All the hospitals destroyed. Sanitaries destroyed. Electricity not found. Food not found. Homes not found. When you speak about a community that was destroyed totally during the last 15 months. What do you think they want to find in North Gaza? They have another experience of suffering because they have nothing.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
What the world will offer them these days? Food. If it is just the needs of food, what the Palestinian people need. They need services, but they can't be, let's say, fair, because what they want in North Gaza today, the people who want to the north, they want to look for their peace, to live in a safe situation, in peaceful. Do we see that the situation in Gaza and the results that they are going to see in Gaza will bring them the secure situation for them? They can the situation will bring them an end for their suffering. So it's very complicated situation. But the principle that we are asking for is that the world must work to end this conflict, to end this suffering, to end this obstacle, to end the occupation, and to give the Palestinians to live in peace in their state, in their with their right as a people equals to others.
Yeah. So speaking of complicated situations, what is your response to Trump's suggestions like, resettling Palestinians in neighboring countries like Egypt or Jordan? And this morning, I think you mentioned Albania. How do such proposals align with or undermine the Palestinian cause, you think?
Maybe we can ask Trump, will we accept to transfer him from Washington, D.C. to Somalia in Africa?
Yeah.
If he accepts for himself, we will accept for ourselves. But it's not his right to say, I want to make transfer and to take the Palestinian people from their homeland outside. It's not his right, and he is not responsible on ourselves and we never accept his policies, not in this let's say, term of his governance, and not in his previous term of his governance. When he wants to speak, he wants to speak as a leader of the world in a way that can bring justice to everybody, can bring security to everybody. But he is not his right to speak about making transfer and to transfer the Palestinian people from place to place, forcing them for this transfer. For us, we are refusing his policy, his ideas, and we know that Trump and his policy is not pro-Palestine. It wasn't in the past, and it's not in this period, and we know that it will not be in the future.
I got you.
Mr.
But
Yeah.
before that, I would like to concentrate that this interview, or the subject of interview, was the 7th of October. I would like to give a brief about our suffering. Our suffering started since Balfour Declaration, when Balfour promised the Jewish people to build a state for them on the Palestine land, and on the Palestinian people land. Since that, we were suffering until through the war of 1948 and then 1967. And when we reach the peace process, and when Palestinian side and Israeli side signed Oslo Agreement, from that time to the all agreements, the side who were violating the agreements, the Israeli side, all the time, the Palestinian side were committing to all points in this agreements. But the Israeli side violated these agreements, violated the international laws. I would like to give you an example about Bethlehem. Bethlehem district, before the 7th of October, was surrounded by 23 illegal settlements. When I say illegal settlements, it's according to the international law. Those settlements was built on Palestinian land, and those settlers who have the right to come and live in our land, on the Palestinian land, they are using our resources, our natural resources. I would like to give you an example about the resources. Let's say water. It is like a very essential natural resource. They are using it. They are using our water according to these agreements, and they pumping for us and providing us a very limited amount of water. According to World Health Organization, we should receive 150 liters per capita per day, and we are receiving less than 50 liters of water per capita per day. And they are still using our resources, and they're still building these settlements on our land. And on the northern side of Bethlehem, the apartheid wall was built on our land. So the Israeli side all the time violating the international law. And when we saying about Gaza, you can see that Israeli side violating human rights. They killed a lot of people. Nowadays, you can find 35,000 orphan kids. Who will raise them? Who will take care of them? We are saying about kids, about their families. And they, through the Israeli side, through on the Palestinian land, on Gaza Strip, around 88,000 tons of explosives. Can you imagine that? I believe that no war in the world, in the history of a human, this amount of explosives was used against a people. It's not about Hamas. It's not about the 7th of October. It is about a whole story, about this conflict, this complicated conflict, about Israel and Palestine, about the Palestinian people were suffering from this occupation all the time. From Bethlehem, we sent a message to the international community to bring back the real peace to the land that sent the message of peace from Bethlehem to the whole world. Jesus Christ, the Lord of the message of peace, was born in Bethlehem city. And all the time, we ask from the international community to stop this occupation, to give the Palestinian people their rights, their dignity. We need to live in equity. What we're witnessing in Gaza, it is ethnic cleansing. We saw a genocide against our people. It's not about 7th of October. It's about strategic plan created by Israeli government to displace our people and took our land and keep confiscating our land and widening their state.
Given Trump's track record of strongly favoring Israel, including relocating the US embassy to Jerusalem, how is his current administration, do you think, likely to impact the prospects for a two-state solution?
I believe that Trump should think again about our cause, Palestinian cause, and about the conflict between Palestine and Israel, because we believe and the whole world witnessing the support of Trump and even the former government of USA that's supporting Israel against our people. They should, as a leader of this world, to be in equal and to see a human as a human. Do not prefer a human than other humans. And all the time, as a Palestinian people, we commit to two-state solution. This is our way to commit and implement the real peace on this land.
So, do you think the ongoing conflict and its aftermath will deepen the divisions between Palestinian factions like Fatah and Hamas, or could it lead to greater unity in the face of shared challenges?
Actually, we believe that we need to reach the real unity in political parties in order to face this occupation, because this occupation do not give us any chance to have any conflict, interior conflict. We believe all the time that Palestinian people will be in one hand and will be think in unity in order to face this occupation.
Yeah. So, how do you view Israel's ongoing military operations in southern Lebanon, despite the ceasefire agreement and Hezbollah's rejection of the extension, claiming Israel's withdrawal is overdue? Like, do you think this could escalate tensions in the region further?
Actually, we see this radical government in Israel that try to keep the war and aggression against the Palestinian people and against Lebanon. So they are trying their best to widen their borders and to widen their conflict with the region. And we see that Israel nowadays, this government, it's not like government that can create peace. What they can create only conflict and war. And they all the time we find this aggression and this complicated aggression against Lebanon, against Palestine, and I believe they will widening their conflict.
Right. So what do you have to say about certain Western experts accusing that given the close ties between Iran, Hezbollah and Hamas, do you believe the axis of resistance played like a significant role in escalating the Israel-Hamas conflict?
So for us, as a Palestinian people, our decision will be in Palestine. The decision of Palestinian people, and we believe that PLO is our leadership, and the PLO and our president Mahmoud Abbas, who will take the decision, and we all around him and surround him and support his decisions. And we are not accepting to interfere from any other government or any other state in the Palestinian cause. unless we were like asking for a support from our official side, our official, let's say, government, and our President Mahmoud Abbas.
Thank you, Mr. Salman and Mr. Hanania, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching us, guys. Have a nice rest of the day.